while the Trump administration believed that additional sanctions and very targeted sanctions against top officials in Iran would bring them to the negotiating table, it appears that thus far the opposite has happened. In fact, the president of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, has released a statement. In fact, he also gave a speech where he said, quote, "The White House is afflicted by mental retardation and does not know what to do."
Well, there is an argument to be made. Now, somebody should let Hassan Rouhani know. We don't use that word anymore in America, okay? But other than that, he's not alone in thinking that, and not just in Iran, but here in America.
Now, the Trump administration was dismayed at that comment. Trump himself said the following: "Iran's very ignorant and insulting statement put out today only shows that they do not understand reality." So I just wanna focus on that first sentence in that tweet, because he believes that the statement was, quote, "ignorant and insulting." Let me just remind everyone of who Donald Trump is. Take a look.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you gotta see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said.
So let me continue on with the rest of his tweet. Any attack by Iran on anything American will be met with great and overwhelming force. In some areas, overwhelming will mean obliteration. No more John Kerry and Obama.
So wait, is he threatening to obliterate John Kerry and Obama? Not entirely clear. Okay, so
way to make a potentially disastrous and devastating tweet funny.
Thank you, no problem. But I love that Pompeo also came out and said, "I can't believe how immature and childish the Iranian statement was." Are you kidding, dog? Have you met the president? I mean, you want to talk about immature and childish? Every single thing he does is that way. Oh, yeah, my button's bigger than your button. Okay, water surrounded your island, surrounded by water. Oh, big ocean water.
And Hassan Rouhani is not the only world leader who has made similar statements about Trump. In fact, if you can recall, when tensions were escalating between the United States and North Korea, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called Trump the mentally deranged US dotard.
Okay, dotard just means old fool.
Yeah.
But notice the similarity with mentally deranged. So perhaps the North Koreans and the Iranians would also like us to use the 25th Amendment. Now, we're not gonna take their word for it, but unfortunately, like I said, there is certainly an element of truth in that. But as of course you guys remember, Kim Jong-un and Trump later patched it up. And Trump then said that they had fallen in love. So we are yet unaware that Trump has begun any flirtation with the Iranian president or Ayatollah, but future love letters could be in store if history is any indication. Could you imagine, by the way, maybe I could, I don't know, can you imagine Donald Trump saying, "I have fallen in love with the Ayatollah"?
Honestly, I think it is possible. All the Ayatollah would need to do is compliment him, say nice things about him, and all of a sudden Trump will talk about the love letters that they're sending one another.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'll take it, yes. Because that's a million times better than escalating tensions with Iran. We should not engage in war. They have military capabilities that I think are being underestimated by the Trump administration, particularly John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, who are pushing Trump closer and closer to war. This is a disaster.
Yeah, so, and to your point about the compliments versus insults, that's why when I saw the Iranian president's insults of him, I was worried. Because that is much more dangerous than downing a drone or attacking tankers, which they didn't do. They did down the drone. It looks like it was more in their waters than what we're claiming, which is international waters. They did not appear to attack the tankers. That appears to be neoconservative propaganda. But all of that pales in comparison to insulting Trump, because that's how he makes decisions. Because he is a dotard and he is mentally deranged. So he's like, wait, they insulted me. This is really a big problem now. I don't know if Tucker was right. Maybe John Bolton's right, even though I don't like his mustache. So this is how the child makes decisions. So we have to be really careful. So when I saw that, I was like, more important than any financial or military operation, if they keep insulting the man-child like that, we're gonna have trouble here. So the problem is hot-tempered guys on both sides. I don't know if they're hot-tempered. The Iranians are mad because they're like, now you're putting sanctions on the Ayatollah and his close associates. That's us. And so that hurts us financially. And if you're a conservative, you might be like, God, we're hurting them financially. To what end, guys? To what end?
Right.
Okay, if you had an objective, which is to remove the uranium from Iran, I would agree, except we already did that under the Obama deal. So Trump, for no reason, again, except for his ego, ripped up that deal that was actually one of the best deals I've ever seen in covering politics for over 2 decades, okay? We got all the uranium out, and all we had to do was give them the money back that we stole from them. We froze all their accounts for just to hold it hostage. And I don't know that that was the ethical thing to do, but I'll take it because we got a great deal and we got the uranium out. So if you care about not going into wars, which is what conservatives claim they care about, yeah, you're happy that Trump didn't fire the missiles, didn't listen to Bolton and Pompeo. But this kind of needlessly antagonizing one another is not gonna end well because you know how thin-skinned your leader is.
So
you know it. You know it's all about his feelings.
I think you're about to have mixed feelings about the next video that we're gonna go to, because on one hand, it's terrifying what Trump is about to say. On the other hand, it goes to what you've been arguing about Trump for a very long time, and that is his lack of strategy. Take a look.
Strategy for Iran if war does break out?
You're not going to need an exit strategy. I don't need exit strategies.
I'm not gonna need an exit strategy. Disastrous, disastrous. And this is a pattern that you see with Donald Trump when it comes to foreign policy. He had a very similar reaction when reporters asked him what his plan was in regard to North Korea.
I think I'm very well prepared. I don't think I have to prepare very much. It's about attitude. It's about willingness to get things done. But I think I've been preparing for the summit for a long time. This isn't a question of preparation. It's a question of whether or not people want it to happen.
So he was not prepared, which is why he met with Kim Jong-un, had that summit, and there was absolutely nothing that came out of it. There was a flimsy, nonsense, non-binding agreement between the United States and North Korea. And did Kim Jong-un actually follow through with anything? No. Did they stop their nuclear program? No. Has Trump actually accomplished anything in denuclearizing any country? No. In fact, he's actually moved any progress that we had under the Obama administration backwards, especially when it comes to Iran.
Yeah, in fact, I'll give you a very specific example in the case of Iran. He's now saying we're gonna give sanctions to anyone who will take uranium out of Iran. Why would you do that? We don't want them to have the uranium, so why would you sanction anyone who's taking the uranium out of Iran? What an incredibly weird, counterproductive thing to do. So in terms of, look, there's 2 different mental derangements here. One is from Trump, and that one is obvious. I don't need an exit strategy. What? Come on, guys. I mean, really, even if you're a right winger, you're proud of that idiocy? I don't need a plan. What happened? I thought he played 3-dimensional chess. Which chess player says, I don't need a plan? And he said he didn't need a plan with North Korea, and he blundered it. Thank God we're not in the middle of a war yet, but we got nothing to show for his efforts. Now in Iran, I'll take a stalemate because I so desperately don't want a war. That's gonna lead to the second conversation about derangement. But in terms of, if you think he knows what he's up to, a guy who says, I don't need an exit strategy, clearly doesn't know what he's up to. Hey, when you go in, how are you going to get out? But by the way, this is what he says about the presidency too. They put out a video the other day on Twitter about how he's gonna be president until 2068 or 3000, the year 3000 or whatever. Now, obviously it's partly tongue in cheek because he won't be around that long, but he does keep joking, prodding about how he might not leave office. That's the second time that he's done that. So he's setting it up for, I don't need an exit strategy. And that's how dictators talk.
Well, no, well, yes, that is how dictators talk. But more importantly, that's how the US military industrial complex talks. They don't want an exit strategy. I don't know if this is really what's going on with Trump when he made that statement. I genuinely think that he's just unprepared. But he's also kind of saying out loud what members of any administration aren't supposed to say out loud, which is, We want war. We do not want an exit strategy. We want this to be a perpetual war, similar to what we're experiencing right now with Iraq, with Afghanistan. Let's keep our troops there as long as possible, not because we care about freedom or spreading democracy, because we care about making private contractors wealthy. We care about having access to cheap oil. Those are the reasons why we have these wars and have absolutely no exit strategy. Trump is actually saying what we've been experiencing for decades now.
Saying the quiet parts out loud, exactly right. Which leads me to the final derangement, which actually is now, for the first time, Trump derangement syndrome. So Obama derangement syndrome existed in the right wing and in Trump fevered, right? Oh my God, anything Obama did, including the Iran deal, doesn't matter the merits, they were opposed to it. Now, Trump has earned the ire of all Americans, and there's 1,000 reasons to be against him. But now I'm sensing for the first time establishment people who are like, no, if Trump says it, I'm against it. So if Trump doesn't want to attack Iran, maybe we should attack Iran. No, we shouldn't attack Iran. Just think for a second, okay? Don't make the same mistake that the right wing does, which is I'm just unilaterally opposed to that guy. So, for example, they're now all of a sudden talking about how George W. Bush was not a bad president. Why? Why would a progressive ever say that? He was a terrible president. He didn't think about getting into Iraq. He got into Iraq. And by the way, just like Trump, when we went to go invade Iraq, there's a famous moment where the generals explain what the plan is, and they go, step 1, the invasion. Step 2, you get to Baghdad, you occupy Baghdad. Then step 3, you occupy the whole country. Step 4, which is what happens after you take over the country, was called, the slide was literally TBD, to be determined. In other words, they didn't have an exit strategy in Iraq either. But a lot of the mainstream media cut him a break because he was an establishment Republican. And today, a lot of so-called progressives and Democrats and people in the media are like, oh, Bush was good, Trump is bad. No, Bush was a disaster. And Trump, if he keeps us out of Iran, actually will not be as bad as Bush, assuming that we still have a democracy if and when he exits. But now Trump derangement syndrome has kicked in. So people are like, no, that's it. Bush was good, and if Trump doesn't want to attack Iran, we should attack Iran. That's a disastrous idea. Know how to criticize them while keeping your sanity. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.